Right now in America, we're depopulated, except for Muslims. And Muslims are having many more children than the rest of us. A taxi driver killed his 2 daughters in his taxi because they were dating non-Muslims.
143 cases that were judged under Sharia law in 22 states across the country. You don't see Saudis blocking the streets to pray on the street. So how come they do this in Western countries, in Christian countries? Why do they feel the need to do it in New York or in Chicago or in Minnesota or in Michigan or soon to come to, you think you're not next? Think again. It's only a matter of time until they get the numbers and start electing their own mayors and their own city council and their own everything. Islamic infiltration and dominance, and they don't need to fire a bullet.
Welcome to Tipping Point. I'm just about to introduce the show. Before I do that, let me say, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, would you take just a minute, hit the subscribe button right there. Also, the like button. When you subscribe, that means you're going to get all the information that comes from us automatically. And when you push like, it means other people are going to find out about us. So please, if you haven't done that already, go ahead and do that. And now we're going to go to the show. Welcome to Tipping Point. I'm Jimmy Evans. On today's show, I'm going to be joined by Brigitte Gabrielle. She's a national security expert, and we're going to be discussing world events, the Middle East, and Islamic terrorism. Brigitte is a legal immigrant from Lebanon, and she grew up witnessing the atrocities of terrorism and war. She has a unique perspective you're going to want to hear. Before I introduce her today, I want to say thank you again for helping us reach our Magen David Adom goal last quarter. Because of your generosity, we were able to purchase 2 ambulances, fully fund 2 scholarships for 2 paramedics to complete a 3-year training program, and provide over $43,000 in much-needed medical supplies. Thank you so much for helping us do that. That's so exciting. Now the Lord is opening a new door, the chance to participate directly in Bible prophecy by bringing Jewish families home to Israel. Your giving between now and the end of February to support Tipping Point Ministries will also help bring a Jewish person home to Israel. Between now and the end of February, Tipping Point Ministries is partnering with the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews with a goal: bring 25 people home. That's 5 families of 5. With your help, we can make it happen. Give online today at endtimes.com/donate. We have an incredible opportunity right now to be a part of making Bible prophecy come true. Jews from over 50 countries are making Aliyah. Aliyah is a Hebrew word, means to go up or to ascend, returning to Israel exactly as the prophets foretold. Ezekiel 36:24, God says, I will take you from among the nations, gather you out of all the countries, and bring you into your own land. Jeremiah 31:10, God says, he who scattered Israel and will gather him and keep him as a shepherd does his flock. That isn't poetry, it's prophecy being fulfilled right before our eyes. Every plane landing in Tel Aviv is a sermon on the faithfulness of God. Why this matters now is anti-Semitism has increased 340% since 2022. In France, Jewish families are cursed on the subway. In Ukraine, they're caught between war and persecution. The ancient hatred is rising all over the world, but God has provided a refuge, Israel, and he's calling us to help get his people back there. Now go to endtimes.com/donate and give to help make this a reality for 25 Jews to return home to Israel. As my thank you for your giving, I'm going to send you a digital copy of my book, I Am David, 10 Lessons in Greatness from Israel's Most Famous King. That book will bless you as you're being a blessing to help people return to Israel and also to support Tipping Point Ministries. Thank you so much for partnering with us to fulfill God's mission and to bless Israel. Right now, I want to welcome Brigitte Gabrielle to join me in discussing world events and what is happening in Israel and the Middle East. Brigitte is a national security expert and chairman of the actforamerica.org. She's a globally recognized expert on national security, terrorism, and geopolitics, and one of the most influential voices defending Western civilization. A legal immigrant from Lebanon, she survived the horrors of the Lebanese Civil War, spending 7 years in an underground bomb shelter, which gave her unparalleled first-hand insight into radical extremism and the value of freedom. Brigitte is the founder and chairman of Act for America, the largest national security-focused grassroots organization in the country, and a New York Times bestselling author. I'm honored to have her joining me. Brigitte, thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you for having me with you. I'm honored.
Well, you have such a wonderful cause, Act for America, that we're going to talk about here in just a minute. But you have been on a campaign for many years exposing Islamic terrorism. You're a national security expert. You know, you're a worldwide expert on world affairs. But I want you to start, if you would. I said in the introduction, and I read in one of your books here, you spent 7 years in an underground bomb shelter as a young girl growing up in Lebanon. I mean, that's just incredible. Would you share just a little bit about your background to kind of help people understand your passion and your convictions related to this issue?
Thank you. Well, they say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I grew up in Lebanon, what used to be the only majority Christian country in the Middle East. Most people don't know that. We were open-minded, we were fair, we were tolerant, we were multicultural. We prided ourselves on our multiculturalism. We welcomed everyone into our country because we wanted to share with them the westernization we had created in the heart of the Middle East. Muslims used to send their children from all over the Arabic world to study in our universities because we had built the best universities in the Middle East. They graduated and worked in our economy because we had built the best economy in the Middle East, even though we did not have any oil. Unfortunately, we imported people into our country that did not share our values because we were nice and we wanted to be nice and good and all of that stuff. And once they had enough numbers in the country, they turned against us and started saying how much they hate us, how they wanted to change our country. And we didn't believe them. We refused to read the writing on the wall. And because of that, when they declared war on us in 1975, the civil war in Lebanon broke. And a lot of people call it civil war. It was basically a war between the people that we imported into the country, like the Palestinians, who were majority Muslims, who put their heads together with the Muslims in Lebanon because they became the majority and started killing the Christians. My 9/11 happened to me in 1975 when the combined forces of Muslims and Palestinians bombed my home, blowing it up, burying me under the rubble wounded. I ended up in a hospital for 2.5 months and later ended up living in a bomb shelter underground in an 8 by 10 room without electricity, without water, and very little food. And that's where I lived for the next 7 years of my life, robbed of my youth.
Wow. Well, when you grow up like that and you see the reality of Muslim terrorism, Islamic terrorism in your neighborhood and, blowing up your home, I mean, it creates within you, when people hear you, and I've listened to you for many years, and you're such a champion, Brigitte, and you have been talking about this for so long. And now we're waking up in the West and we're just realizing the dangers of this Islamic terrorism, but also when their numbers increase. And I live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so we've seen the rise of Sharia courts. And now the state of Texas outlawed Sharia law, but that hasn't changed anything really. We see communities, they're trying to develop Epic City here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, a Muslim community, which there's been a kind of an uprising against. But you've been talking about this for a long time and blowing the alarm. Now you're the founder and chairman of Act for America. Now this is the largest national security focused grassroots organization in America. Could you talk about that? Why you started that and what you guys are accomplishing?
Yes, I started Act for America to basically protect the country. When I was a little girl, when I was wounded in the hospital, going from one surgery to another, I would ask my father, why did they do this to me? And my father would tell me they hate us because we are Christians. They consider us infidels and they want to kill us. So I learned since I was a 10-year-old little girl that I am wanted dead simply because I was born into the Christian faith. On 9/11/2001, my children came home from school. They didn't tell them at school what had happened that day. And my daughters walk home, and I'm watching the images of the World Trade Center fall down, being replayed again and again and again. And my youngest daughter sat next to me. She was around my age when I was wounded. She was 10 years old. And she said to me, Mommy, why did they do this to us? And I found myself Jimmy, looking into my daughter's eyes and repeating to her the same words my father said to me. They hate us because they consider us infidels and they want to kill us. Here we were 2 generations apart. I was a young Lebanese girl who spoke Arabic. She's a young American girl who spoke English. 8,000 miles apart, 2 continents apart, 30 years apart, and I found myself repeating to my daughter the same words. That day was my defining moment. That day I vowed that I will do everything I can so my daughter will never have to look into her child's eyes and repeat to him or to her yet unborn what my daddy said to me and what I had to say to her. That day I was reborn as an activist. September 11th happened on a Tuesday morning. I laid in my couch in my family room, watching television in my pajamas until Sunday, praying, God, what can I do to make a difference? Use me as your instrument of change. You see, Jimmy, I'm a firm believer that every single one of us is born for a destiny, has a destiny to fulfill, has a purpose in life. And no matter what happens to us in our life, no matter what trials and tribulations we go through, they are nothing more than stepping stone to refine us so we can serve our purpose. They're nothing more than preparation. And I realized I need to start an organization in the United States that will not only educate people about the problem, but will mobilize people to impact policy to be effective. You know, effective is my favorite word in the English language. And that's why I launched Act for America, because I wanted to educate people and I wanted to empower people to take action, to mobilize and organize in order to make a difference for the country. And I'm proud to tell you that now we have 5 million members nationwide. We have passed 300 bills at the federal level as well as the state level to protect the country. You mentioned Sharia law. Texas passed Sharia law. We were the ones who passed the Sharia law in Texas twice. We started in 2009, and to show you the apathy in Texas, when we introduced the bill called American Laws for American Courts, because at that time, nobody had the backbone to even call it Sharia law. So we wanted to introduce a law that says no law that is not compatible with the U.S. Constitution should be allowed to be used in any American courtroom. Because we wanted to make sure that if you're a British company, if you're an American company doing business with a British company, and you have to go to litigation, okay, fine. They want to use British law, that's fine. It is compatible with the U.S. Constitution. But if you are from Pakistan, or if you are from Egypt, or if you are from Indonesia, and went to court and wanted to use your law, we knew that was Sharia law. So it took us from 2010 till 2017 to pass that law in Texas, because the Texas Republicans would not allow that bill to pass. This is how much they were a sellout. And you know, I remember sitting with T-Bone Pickens in his office in 2014, telling T-Bone Pickens why we must pass that bill in Texas, how the Islamists are organizing in Texas, how they are growing in Texas, how they are practicing Sharia law in Texas. Most people don't realize that Texas was the first state in the United States to introduce Sharia court in 1991 in Richardson, Texas, and then the rest of the states started following. Different Islamic communities learned what the Muslims did in Texas, and they started duplicating it in other states in the country. And when T-Bone Pickens called the state legislatures in Austin, I was sitting next to him telling them, you know, what is this about? We hear you guys are blocking this bill to pass a bill that will block Sharia law. They told them, oh, these Act for America people, they're over-exaggerating. It's not true. We don't have a problem in Texas. It took us to 2017. I remember meeting with the people in Texas. In 2007, I sat down and met with Ross Perot Sr., who ran for president. I remember sitting down with Norman Brinker. Norman Brinker even hosted a gathering at his home on Straits Lane for me, invited the who's who in Texas. And people were so afraid to even participate, donate money, even sign up to get our emails and action alerts. The Haggard, remember Haggard jeans? You know, they sell the Haggard pants. You buy them at different outlets across America. The family didn't even show up to Brinker's home for the meeting because they were afraid that if even they go to my website, to our website, Act for America, that somehow someone will find out that they went there, and they were afraid. They didn't want anybody to know that they are associated with anything speaking about this issue. The reason now Texas woke up, it's because of Epic City. You know, they say an overnight success takes 20 years. The Islamists have been at it in Texas for over 30 years. Texans pushed the snooze button and buried their heads in the sand, thinking it's not going to happen here. We don't care. Let those Arabs do whatever they want to do, as long as we can go out and buy a good shawarma sandwich down at this new halal store that opened up down the street. Texas woke up because of Epic City, and this is a warning for the whole country. Do not wait until it's too late to wake up, because by the time, if it's too late, it's like fighting stage 4 cancer. It's so much harder to beat than starting to fight cancer at stage 2.
That's right. Thank God for you, Brigitte, and for Act for America, because we need to understand the importance, not just of having a conviction, but like you said, being effective. You know, having means to change the laws, because what we're seeing right now, and I want you to talk about Sharia law, because when we're talking about this, I know a lot of people have heard that term. What are the dangers of Sharia law? For example, in my neighborhood here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, about 2 miles from my house, a taxi driver killed his 2 daughters, his 2 teenage daughters, in his taxi because they were dating non-Muslims. That's called honor killings. And so how are women treated under Sharia law, and why is Sharia law so dangerous?
Oh, they are treated terribly. But before I go further, I want to make sure to tell people, make sure you go to actforamerica.org, sign up to receive our emails and action alerts. We are working on bills, not just in Texas, but all over the country. I know this show is going to be on the internet. We want to be able to reach you when there is something, a bill introduced in your state, where we need your voice to impact policy in your state to protect and preserve America, founded on Judeo-Christian values.
That's right.
This is the country we need to protect. So why we are concerned about Sharia law? By the way, Sharia law, we have documented by 2014, Jimmy, 143 cases that were judged under Sharia law in 22 states across the country. 22 states, 143 cases. And that was back 10 years ago, over 10 years ago. God knows what it is today. But like you said, Sharia law is exploding. Sharia courts are exploding nationwide as well as in Texas at such a rapid speed. And the reason why we're concerned about Sharia law is the way the law treats women, the way the law treats minorities. The woman is worth the half of that of a man. Women cannot inherit property. A man can beat his wife. A man can abuse his wife. A man can deprive his wife from everything, and it's justified under Sharia law. A man can rape his wife. She cannot even go get a divorce for being repeatedly raped by her husband because the law is on his side. As a matter of fact, there was a case in New Jersey in 2010 where a man was raping and torturing his wife for 3 years. She went to get a restraining order against him. The court would not give him a restraining order because she was his property. The Quran said, the Hadith said that your wives are like cows. You plow into them as fields, as you plow into your field. They are considered as animal creatures that God made them with an image of a human, that so a man can tolerate her when he has sex with her. This is how repulsive Sharia law is. It took this woman in New Jersey 3 years to finally get the appellate court to overturn the decision and give her a protective order against her husband. And Act for America was involved in that case. That was 2010. A man under Sharia law can kill his, can mutilate, genitally mutilate his daughter. And it's happening. We all heard about the doctors in Michigan genitally mutilating Muslim girls that were flown from all over the country because they believe, a Muslim girl should be mutilated because she should not have any sexual feelings. lest she dishonors the family and gets engaged in activities that is not approved of by Islamic law, sexual activity. And that's exactly why the husband, the father, like you mentioned, 2 blocks from your house where you are in Texas, killed his 2 daughters in an honor killing and escaped, and he was hidden by Muslims who hid him because it is justified under Islamic law. So these are the laws that we are very much concerned about. We do not want this in our country. Women deserve better in our country.
Absolutely.
And that's why we are fighting it.
I was speaking in Egypt, and this was a Christian church I was speaking in, but all the members of this church were ex-Muslims. And the pastor, and I was speaking on marriage, and the pastor said to me, every man who becomes a Christian and comes to this church, I have to tell him to stop beating his wife. And I said, why? He said, because they're taught to beat their wives. They're taught from birth to beat their wives. And it just shocked me, but that's a part of the Muslim culture. Now, it's my understanding, does Sharia law allow the men to marry young girls? Is that a part of Sharia law?
Yes, Prophet Muhammad married a girl at the age of 6 and consummated the marriage at the age of 9. This is exactly why under the Islamic law, it is justified to have sex with a 6-year-old. You can even have sex with an infant in diapers. It is justified under Islamic law because, a female is born strictly for the pleasure of the male, to take care of him, to birth babies, and to satisfy him sexually. And that's exactly why men in the Islamic world are allowed to marry up to 4 wives at a time, not in a lifetime,
Right.
at a time.
Right.
And a Muslim man also is allowed to marry. Under the Shiite religion, there is the pleasure marriage, which is a 24-hour marriage. So if you see any woman and you would like to have sex with her, you marry her for 24 hours, you have all the sex you want, and then you divorce her. And it's completely legal to satisfy the sexual pleasure. It is such a perverted religion by a perverted leader who is a pedophile, who justifies pedophilia. And this is a problem all across the Islamic world.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank God for Act for America. And I do want to encourage everybody to go to actforamerica.org, sign up for your emails, and let's be a part of the solution and be a part of the growing numbers of people that are, joining your efforts. This is something that's shocking. And I know that as we're talking about Sharia law, I hope people are shocked by this and shocked into taking action and understanding the dangers that we're facing right now. Because right now in America, we're depopulating. I'm talking about the American population. We're depopulating, except for Muslims. And Muslims are having many more children than the rest of us. And once they reach a certain number, because you talked about this in Lebanon, once they reach a certain number, things change, right?
That's right. And look, when I talk about Sharia law and Islamic traditions, people think, well, I'm not a Muslim. It's not going to affect my daughter. I'm not genitally mutilating my daughter. I don't care what they do inside their families. If a husband and wife have a problem with each other, if he wants to slap her, that's fine with me. It doesn't affect me. What affects you is when they become the majority in your city and they start blasting the Islamic prayers 5 times a day. Look what's happening in New York. In New York City, look what's happening in Michigan right now. And there is not a darn thing anybody can do about it. And in New York, they are blocking streets, praying in the middle of the street. Why? There is a mosque right around the block. How come they're not praying inside the mosque? They are praying out on the street. I grew up in the Middle East. Not once did I ever see Muslims blocking the streets to pray. They don't block the streets in Egypt. You don't see people in Egypt praying on the streets of Egypt. Saudi Arabia, the holiest Muslim country in the world, where they have the Kaaba and Medina, Prophet Muhammad is buried. You don't see Saudis blocking the streets to pray on the street. So how come they do this in Western countries, in Christian countries? Why do they feel the need to do it in New York or in Chicago or in Minnesota or in Michigan or soon to come to Texas. If you think you're not next, think again. It's only a matter of time until they get the numbers and start electing their own mayors and their own city council and their own everything to say, we want to have prayers 5 times a day, blessing from the muezzin, and this is our freedom of religion, and there's not a darn thing you can do. It is coming. So this is why this issue affects you. This is why you need to speak up now before too late. If people spoke up in Texas back in 2007, 2009, 2012, 2014, 2016, 2018, you would not be fighting Epic City in 2026. So if you think it's not coming here, if you do not want Islamic muezzin blessing the prayers in your major cities in Texas by 2035, now is the time to speak up. Now is the time to organize. Go to our organization, go to actforamerica.org right now. Click on Join Us. Start a chapter in your community. We just launched our chapters. We have 16 chapters starting in Texas. We want you to join us. And if you are watching us from any other state in the union, because this show is going to be on the internet, go to actforamerica.org, click on Join Us, start a chapter. Wherever you are, start a chapter, join a chapter, volunteer, sign up to become to receive our emails and action alerts. And if you don't have time to volunteer and you don't have time to start a chapter and you are very busy to give of your time, support us with your finances. Even as a Patriot partner at 50 cents a day, whatever your spare change may be, stand with us as a member. Right now, we are launching our 2026 campaign. We are asking people to stand with us as Patriot partners at $26 a month. Support us. We will send you the Muslim Brotherhood Project for North America, the 100-year plan written for radical Islam to infiltrate and dominate the West. Stand with us financially, and we will send you this plan so you can have it. You can read it. You can read it in English and in Arabic. And ironically, it was introduced in the biggest terrorist financing trial, which took place in Dallas, Texas in 2007 and 2008. It was introduced as evidence where our country handed down 108 guilty verdicts to Muslim American and Muslim American organizations raising money in America to the tune of millions and sending it to the Middle East to support terrorists.
I tell you, I hope everyone will go to actforamerica.org and sign up and also support you financially, because what you're doing is absolutely critical at a critical time. Brigitte, you're a national security expert. What is your main concern for America right now?
Islamic infiltration and dominance, and they don't need to fire a bullet. And what makes this even more dangerous is they are using the gullible lefties. So what we are witnessing right now is the Islamists and the socialist communists in our country are coming together. They are working together, not working together, fighting together, shoulder to shoulder. What the leftist socialist nitwits in our country do not realize is that they are being used by the Islamists as the stepping ladder, as the stepping stone, as the useful idiots until the Islamists get to their position. In Lebanon, we had the same thing when I was growing up. We had the socialists who said, no, they are just saying words when they say they hate us. We need to stand with them. We need to fight for their human rights. Remember, Lebanon was a Christian country, and Lebanon is a republic, exactly like the United States of America. That's what most people don't realize, because when you think about the Middle East, you think of all dictatorships and one-man regime, royal families in the Arabic world, with the exception of the State of Israel. And Lebanon. Lebanon is a republic. So the socialist, leftist, communists in Lebanon worked with the Islamists, supported them, voted for them, helped them come to power because they thought they're being inclusive, they're being multicultural, they celebrated diversity. I see the exact same thing happening in America today. That's my biggest concern, because once the Islamists become the power that they need, I mean, look at Mamdani,
absolutely.
who got elected, and use the leftist who voted for him and propped him up, just like the Islamists. We're going to start seeing more in that. And this is my biggest concern. And that's why we conservatives, Republicans, people who fear God, who love God and country, who believe in what our founding fathers created for us, who believe in our Bill of Rights, our Constitution, we need to come together, work together, stop the bickering and the inner fighting, put our differences aside and come together as one to beat our enemy, because our enemies are coming together in different groups, all of them to fight us. We need to embrace all the people on the right and come together to fight our enemy. That's our only chance to win.
Absolutely. Madame is a perfect, example of an openly Muslim socialist, who is elected mayor. One of the first things that he did was lift the protection of Jewish people in New York City. If you can possibly imagine that, well, that's what they do. That they're going to act according to their beliefs. And of course, he's anti-Semitic, openly anti-Semitic. And so what is your take, Brigitte, on what's happening in Iran? You think there's going to be a regime change there?
Yes, there will be. There's definitely going to be a major attack happening. It's not going to be a matter of weeks. It's going to be a matter of days. We are ready. The Israelis and European airlines began evacuating their airlines. When major airlines, other than the Israelis, start canceling planes and diverting planes all over Europe, something is brewing in the Middle
Right.
East. Embassies are evacuating their people from Iran. So we have already evacuated our bases. We ask all Americans to leave Iran. We already did that a few weeks ago. Our military is in place to take action. We're not going to go in and do it personally. We are going to help get rid of the leaders so the people of Iran will be able to do the fighting, to be able to take back their country. We are giving the Iranians the victory that they deserve and the victory that they need to claim.
Yes.
This is going to be their victory, not the victory of the United States. While we can go in and do it, in a split second, we're just being very careful on how we take care of the Iranian regime to make sure that it doesn't look like America went in and did it, and that the Iranians would look and take pride in the fact that they were able to liberate themselves, that they will be able to govern themselves, and they will be able on their own to develop a close relationship with America and Israel. And that will transform all of the Middle East. Once the Iranian regime falls, then we're going to be able to see the domino effect of peace, of the Abraham Accord being signed all over the Middle East, Lebanon, Syria, Iran. I think it's going to transform not just the Middle East, but the rest of the world.
That's fantastic. I just totally agree with that. And I pray everything you just said happens just as you said it. One of the issues I want you to talk about, if you would, what is your opinion of President Trump's 22-point peace plan related to Gaza and Hamas? You think that has a chance of ever happening?
President Trump put a board of peace together because he wanted to make sure other countries in the world have a vested interest in finding a solution to the Palestinian problem. This way, it doesn't look like America and Israel are going in and America and Israel are just taking over and occupying the territory and, the colonialist America and Israel. What he has brilliantly done is bring together the world body. Leaders, I think we are up to now 30 countries from around the world who joined the Board of Peace, who are going to have a vested interest in defending the territory, contributing to the building of the territory. Now, my concern is two people on that board, the Qatari representative and the Turkish representative. Both these representatives are friends with Hamas. They are friends with the leaders of Hamas. They have taken pictures with the leaders of Hamas. I think there is intermarriage between the two. And so we're asking them to defund Hamas. How are we going to be able to defund Hamas while we have these two people on the board? It'll be very interesting to see if the board in general will be able to override the damage that the representative from Qatar and Turkey are going to be able to do.
Yes. Well, I so appreciate you being with me today. Now, actforamerica.org. Is there any place else that they can go to find out more about what you're doing, or is that the main place to go?
I want people to go to actforamerica.org, and I want you to remember this name. I named the organization Act for America. Not think about America, not hope for America, not wish for America, not pray for America, but what? act for America, because we can think and wish and hope and pray, but without taking action, nothing happens. We all pray for our country. We all hope for our country, but God uses people as his instrument of change. God doesn't change the world through lightning in the sky. God uses his people as his
That's right.
instrument. As Christians, to whom much is given, much is required. We are required to become engaged. We are required to take action. We are required to preserve the greatest Christian country on the face of the planet. If we do not preserve America as a beacon of light, where else people are going to go?
That's right.
We are the beacon light. We are the shining city on a hill. And this is why I want people to go to actforamerica.org. If my message resonates with you, go to actforamerica.org, sign up to receive our emails and action alerts, join us, start a chapter in your community, volunteer, donate as a member, stand with us as a financial supporter. Together, we can make a difference for our country.
I pray everyone will do that. You are a champion. You are so inspirational. I've been seeing you and hearing you for years. You're just inspiration. I thank God for you. And for Act for America, I hope everyone goes there, signs up, and supports you financially. Brigitte, thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you. Honored to be with you.
God bless you. Well, I hope you enjoyed the show today. You know, that's such interesting information. And what we want to do coming to you every single week is just bring you information that matters. You know, every guest that we have on here, this is something important to talk about and something to keep you informed about. But, you know, I just want to remind you, Jesus is coming. Everything points to Jesus. Everything is about him. If you haven't made him the Lord of your life, make him the Lord of your life today. Romans 10:9 says, if you'll confess Jesus as your Lord and believe in your heart that God raised from the dead, you'll be saved. If you haven't done that, do that right now. Wherever you are, you say, Jesus, I confess you as my Lord. I believe that God raised you from the dead, and I want to accept you into my life. And he'll come. And instantly, your eternity will be changed. It's the most important thing that you can possibly do. Your entire eternity depends on your relationship with Jesus Christ. It's by grace that we're saved. It's very simple. Doesn't matter how bad you are or how bad you've been. We're all saved by grace. So just take time today to invite Christ into your heart if you haven't done that already. I want to thank you for being a subscriber, for being a part of this family of believers. We are heralding the return of Jesus Christ. We're remembering that we're living in a time when Bible prophecy is happening all around us, and Jesus' return is imminent. And so I tell people, plan like Jesus isn't coming for 100 years. Keep living your life. Don't stop living your life, but live like he's coming today, because he could. And so, again, thank you for being a subscriber here. You can go to endtimes.com/donate, and you can give a gift. In addition to your subscription, you can give a special gift and help us with now bringing 25 Jews home to Israel as you support Tipping Point Ministries. Remember prayer at endtimes.com if you need prayer. Also, remember that we have testimonies at endtimes.com. If you have a testimony of how God has blessed you through this ministry. And also, we have the questions at endtimes.com. If you have questions that you want to ask, we answer questions every week here on Tipping Point. And so if you have any questions you want to ask, just go to questions@endtimes.com and put those right there. Again, God bless you. Thank you for joining us today. Bye-bye.